An act of mercy beyond belief. A royal pardon. He had power to forgive and power to punish, and he had chosen to forgive. When the king's servant went out, he happened to see another servant who owed him some money. "Pay me what you owe," he said. It was about 3 months' wages. "Have patience with me," the man said, "and I will pay you everything." But the king's servant wanted cash, and he wanted it now. All of it. He would make an example of this man. There were other debts he wanted to collect. The man was arrested and taken to prison. If he had friends, perhaps they could find the money to buy his freedom. It was a vicious thing to do, and it had not gone unnoticed. But the servants of the king faced a problem. Should they tell his majesty or not? Telling the king what had just happened could be interpreted as a criticism of the king's decision, that perhaps he had done the wrong thing in letting his servant go free. The king's great act of mercy had been intended to be an example to his subjects, an example of compassion, and at least some of his courtiers had understood this. But the man who had been forgiven looked on it as a sign of weakness. The king commanded that his servant should be brought to him immediately. For the king's servant, this was an amazing day. First, the discovery of his financial crimes and being condemned to slavery, and then a complete pardon from His Majesty. Of course, there must be a reason for His Majesty's pardon. The king needed him. He was strong and talented and clever. And now came the message. The king had sent for him. What could he expect now? A new position? New opportunities, perhaps? If he became a favorite of the king, he could use his place to great advantage. But the king did not look pleased. What was the cause? Why was he angry? "You wicked servant! I cancelled all that debt of yours because you pleaded with me. Should you not have had mercy on your fellow servant, just as I showed mercy to you? Arrest him!" This time there was no use pleading for mercy. So the king's servant was put in the hands of the jailers until he should pay back everything he owed. As Jesus finished his parable, he made sure that Peter and the others who were listening understood exactly what he meant. "And this," he said, "my heavenly Father will do to each of you, unless you forgive your brother from your heart."
In Matthew chapter 6, Jesus said, "If you forgive other people when they sin against you, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive other people, your heavenly Father will not forgive your sins." What Jesus was saying is this: God is not interested in just seeing us beg for mercy. He wants us to change. And if we're not ready to do that, there is no forgiveness from God. So what should we do? Well, first we should ask God for his forgiveness and pardon, which we certainly need. And then we should have a generous and forgiving attitude towards other people. I think Jesus had made his point. Don't you?
In many countries around the world, there are stories about buried treasure. And in the lands of the Middle East, they've always been popular. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 13, Jesus told a story about buried treasure, but this time it was a parable to make people think. "The kingdom of heaven," said Jesus, "is like treasure hidden in a field." Many centuries ago, during a time of war, the people were taken as prisoners. and a rich man who was running away from the enemy buried all his gold in a pot, hoping to come back later. If he was killed or taken prisoner, then the treasure would remain buried, perhaps forever, or until some fortunate person would find it. Hundreds of years went by, until one day a farm worker was in the field, and accidentally he discovered the pot. The farm worker was curious. Of course, this object might just be a piece of broken pottery thrown away many years ago. That was not unusual. But a pot which was unbroken and had been carefully sealed must contain something of interest. It could be money, some copper coins perhaps. At least he could look and see what it was. It was incredible. A fortune. It was more than he could imagine. More than a man like him could earn in a whole lifetime of work. But legally, all this belonged to the present owner of the field. If he just took the treasure, he would be a thief. There was only one answer. If he could buy the field from its present owner, then everything on the land, including the treasure, would lawfully belong to him. He must get money. He must sell what he had. It was only a little piece of land, but he was poor. It would cost him literally everything he owned. He could not explain what he was doing. He seemed to be quite mad. These were things he had worked for, but now he seemed not to care. Everything was sold for cash. At last he had just enough money to buy the field, and fortunately the owner was quite happy to sell it. The land was his, and legally so was the treasure. He could hardly believe it. It was all his. This man was no fool. Now people would know why he had sold literally everything just to get this piece of land. Now he could buy 100 fields if he wanted to. He was richer than he could have ever dreamed. Jesus had made his point. Some things are so important, their value outweighs everything else you have. And then he told another story. The kingdom of heaven, said Jesus, is like a merchant seeking beautiful pearls. More than silver, more than gold, pearls were costly. Only the richest of the rich could afford the best, the finest pearls. Julius Caesar gave the mother of Brutus a pearl worth 6 million sesterces. Cleopatra possessed pearls worth 10 million sesterces. That was 6,000 years' wages for a working man. The merchant looking for beautiful pearls might go to many cities, and he always had a network of contacts looking for the best. This time, the merchant felt he had a good lead, but negotiating a deal could be difficult. The dealer was cautious. He knew that men would kill to obtain such a pearl as he had. The merchant must use both patience and diplomacy. To find jewellery, even fine gold jewellery, was not difficult. There were workshops which produced the most elegant gold filigree, craftsmen who could design and cut beautiful cameos. But to find a truly magnificent pearl could take a lifetime. This was the one. The pink pearls from the Red Sea were famous, but this was exceptional. This was what he had been searching for. But how much would it cost? The price was huge. It was impossible, far beyond his ability to pay. This pearl would cost him all he had. The merchant tried to bargain. Perhaps the dealer would lower the price. But the dealer would not come down, and the price was not unreasonable. At least the dealer might give him a little time to raise the money and not sell the pearl to someone else. The merchant went home. There was only one thing to do. He must sell everything, every object of value he possessed, beautiful things he had taken years to collect.